Okay, so on this question, they're saying the following are numbers of pages, 13 randomly selected books from the library, the number of pages of 13 randomly selected books from the library. So here's the number of pages. They just grabbed some books at random at the library. And one of the books had 423 pages, another had 578, 207, 339, 506, etc. They're going to ask us a bunch of questions about these books, like what's the mean, like what's the average number of pages for these various books, and what's the standard deviation in the first quartile, median, third quartile, etc. So how do we do it? Well, basically, we're going to put these things in our calculator. So I'm going to write out the calculator steps, the TI 8384 calculator steps, and then I'll show you on the actual TI 8384 on my screen. So first off, you've got to hit stat, the stat button on your calculator, and then you'll be on the edit menu automatically. So hit enter on the edit menu, and then go up to the top of L1 and hit the clear button and enter, because you got to clear L1. That's step number one. Step number two is put these numbers, meaning those numbers, that whole list there, down L1. So you'll have L1, the first one will be 423, and then you hit enter. And then, 578, and hit enter, etc. All right. And then step three, when you're all done doing that, you hit stat again a second time. This time, hit the right arrow and go over to the calc menu, and you'll be on the one variable stats and hit enter. And it'll pop on your main screen, the one variable stats, oops. And you're going to hit enter a second time, and you'll get all the answers you need. All right, so now let me actually show this on the screen for you. So there's the instructions. Here we go. So, okay, so here we go. Here's my calculator. You can see mine, TI-84. So I'm going to hit stat. Oh, wait, here. Let me clear this away. Let me view. There, this will show you the buttons I push. Here we go. Stat. It'll keep a record of the buttons I push over here. Stat. And then see, I'm going to go on the edit menu. I'm going to hit enter. Okay, see how there's a bunch of junk in my L1? I'm going to go up and over. See how I'm highlighting L1 to the top of L1? I'm going to hit clear and enter. Clears all of L1. Then I'm going to put these numbers right down the list. Here we go. 423, enter. This is the tedious part. Let's see, 31, 580. $319, $389. $425, $198. Okay, there's the whole list. Now that's the end of step two. Then step three, I'm going to hit stat again. Here we go. Stat. This time go over to calc. See how I'm highlighted one variable stats? I'm going to hit enter. And okay, now mine's a newer version. So it asks me this. Yeah, I'll have to write this in the instructions. In this case, my list is L1. I leave frequency list blank. So let me write that. I'm going to write that in. So I have the older and then the newer. The newer does list, frequency list. And calculate. All right, so I'm just going to leave L1 highlighted. Good. I'm going to go down here. It's on L1, so I'm going to go down to calculate. I just did, oh, here. So I hit the down arrow to calculate. I don't need anything on frequency list, just leave that blank. So list is L1, frequency list is blank. The only time we do frequency list, let me mention this right now, is when you have a frequency table. So we're going to have some problems like that in this very quiz. We'll have some that have it gives you numbers and their frequency. So in that case, you'll be putting data in L1 and L2, and you will use frequency list. You'll see on that question. But if you just have if you have no frequencies listed, you just have numbers in L1, leave frequency list blank. That's what we have. We have no frequencies. We have numbers only in L1, leave frequency list blank. Calculate, enter. And there they are. There's everything we're going to use for this problem. There's all of our answers for this one. Okay. So, and by the way, you can go down and there's Q1, there's more stuff down here. Minimum, Q1, median, Q3 max. There's the 5 numbers and the 5-number summary for the box plot. There they are. You can go back up and get X bar is the mean. SX is the standard deviation. And there's the 5 numbers for the 5-number summary. Min, Q1, median, Q3 max. Everything we need right at our fingertips. All right, let's go back now to the iPad screen. Finish up this problem. Okay, so now they're asking us, what is the mean? Well, the mean was 369. Oh, by the way, I added over here the other way. So the older TI calculators, you just put one variable stats enter. On the newer TIs, you put list, frequency list, calculate. And remember, this right here, you leave blank. And right after calculate, you highlight, calculate, and you hit enter. That's on the newer kind of TIs. So it's either going to be like this for the older or this for the newer. All right, getting back to it, 369, the sample standard deviation. So this is the X bar. This is the S sub X, which was 143. The first quartile, that was Q1, which was, I don't exactly remember what was Q1. 248, I'll just round it to 249. It's multiple choice. They'll give you it was 248.5, rounds 249. Median, such a funny looking M. Median is something. What was the median? 389. These will all show up in the multiple choice options. And Q3, third quartile, which is 468.5, 469. And then now, the last 2 questions are a little tricky. Find the number of pages of a book that is two sample standard deviations above the mean. 2 sample standard deviations above the mean. How do we do that? Let me bring that down here. 2 standard deviations above the mean. So what that means is the mean plus 2 times the standard deviation, right? It's 2 standard deviations above. Above means add, right? right? If your age is 20 and your sister or brother's age is 3 above you, that means add 3, right? So they're saying 2 standard deviations above the mean. So you take the mean, the average, the middle, right? With the average number of pages for all these books, they grab these 13 randomly selected books in the library. The mean is the average. So that's what? That's right here, 369. Plus 2 times, use the times button, standard deviation, which is right here, 143. Right? The standard deviation is the average difference. And well, so that's not true. It's the average distance from the middle. So it has to do with the spread, standard deviation. So they want you to take 369 plus 2 times 143, 2 standard jumps above the middle. That's what they're saying. 2 standard deviations above the middle, the mean. So you take the mean and you add 2 times the standard deviation jump. Standard deviation again means the average or standard amount the books are above the middle, right? If the middle's if the average book has 369 pages, they're not all right on the middle. How far above or below the middle? They're spread out, right? They're spread out above and below the middle. How far above and below the middle? Well, the standard deviation, the average distance from the middle is 143. So how many pages would a book have that is 2 standard jumps above the middle? Well, hit the buttons on your calculator. And if you do that, you'll get 655. That's the answer here, 655. Okay, now that leaves us with one more question. There's been a lot of questions. Last one. A new 400-page book will soon be purchased by the library. How many standard deviations from the mean is this new book? 400 pages. How many standard deviations from the mean is this book? Well, whenever they say that, standard deviations from the mean, you need to recognize that phrase. That means z-score. That's what z-score is. Maybe if I go to the notes and show you that, it'll help. Let me see if I can find those. I don't know if I can find those on the fly like this. Let me try this. Exam 1 notes. Let me see if I can do that for you. Okay, so if I can find z-score here for you real quick. There it is, z-score. So yeah, so it's not all that clear. I don't know if this is going to really be all that helpful for you. So here I'll pop it in nonetheless. But there we go. Okay, so this is the exam 1 notes, which you can use these notes. So exam 1 notes, z-score. And see what it says right here? It's a little hard to tell. It means z-score is the number of standard deviations above or below the mean. Do you see that? And that's what they're saying here. Standard deviations from above or below the mean. So you go, oh, z-score, z-score. And what is it? Right, there's the formula. Okay, so it's score minus mean over standard deviation. So score minus mean over standard deviation. So what's the standard deviation? Standard deviation is right here, 143. Bottom. What's the score? That's the 400. That's what they mean by the score. The number you're talking about minus the mean. The mean is 369. You see that? In other words, you're saying how far above or below the mean. If you got a new book that's 400 pages, that's higher than average, isn't it? The average book in the library, among those 13 books anyway that they randomly selected, had 369 pages. So if we get a new book with 400 pages, that's higher than the average. How many standard jumps, or how much of a standard jump is it above? Well, subtract, find out how many pages above the average it is, and divide that by 143, because 143 is the standard jump. It's only going to be a part of a standard jump. So if you subtract that, you're going to get, what's that, 31 over 143. So it's only a part of a standard jump above. You divide your calculator, you're going to get 0.22. It's only 0.22, a small part. That's about 1/5. 0.22 is a small part. So it's a small part of a standard jump above the middle, meaning this book is a little larger than average because it's 400 pages and the average book is only 369, but it's not even, it's not different than the middle by very much. In fact, the other books, the 13 books, are separated from the middle. The standard deviation, the average distance from the middle, is 143. This one's only 31 pages from the middle. It's only part of a standard jump. That's what z-score measures, how many standard jumps. It's only part of a standard jump above the middle, 0.22. And so there would be our answer, 0.22. And there we go.